All right, good morning. We're live, and it looks like my video is a little jerky. I don't know what's going on. We're having a little bit of a technical issue, but you know what? We're just gonna roll with it and see what happens. Um, we're running a little behind because I've been trying to troubleshoot. I don't know if it's a Skype problem or an OBS problem or just a general internet problem or my camera. Who knows? Well, anyway, we're gonna muddle through. So what are we talking about this morning? We're gonna be talking about bullies, in particular Gretchen Whitmer. Now, I want here's the point I want to make. I'm going to run this clip, and it should be a clip that most of you are familiar with, but there's an important point to be made here.
Just turn around, McFly, and walk away. Are you deaf, McFly? Close the door and feed it.
No, Biff. You leave her alone.
All right, McFly. You're asking for it, and now you're gonna get it.
Biff, stop it! Biff, you'll break his arm! Biff?
Give me a hand, Rizzo.
In this scene, there's an obvious perpetrator, an obvious bully, and an obvious victim. It's not hard. It's not hard to understand what's happening here.
Leave him alone! Let him go! Let him go!
But the modern Democrat.
Good morning, Danielle.
Yeah, good morning, Danielle. It's good to see you. Um, the people that are supporting Gretchen and demanding the stay-at-home orders and equivocating on Tara Reid's allegations against Joe Biden. These people are the same kind of people that would write this article up, this obvious self-defense and defense of others article, and report the burglar who was shot by the homeowner as the victim. That scene it perfectly encapsulates what's actually happening right now. The government is raping the people, and the people, on their own behalf and on behalf of one another, are resisting that. But what the Democrat sees is, oh no, Biff's one of us. I mean Biden. I mean Biff. No, Biden's one of us. If he wants to rape Lorraine, that's his God-given right as a Democrat. I mean, Tara Reid. If Biff wants to rape Tara... It's all Hollywood and Democrats and liberals and damn communists. And what is happening right now is our country, our economy is being murdered by virtue signalers and moral panickers to the nth degree.
What if you had to choose between going bankrupt or your parents dying?
Yeah, that's not the choice. The choice is, here's the real question. What if you had to choose between your ailing parents dying and your children starving to death? That's the question. That's the choice you should be asking.
Well, and it's a false equivalence anyway. Like, this has never been about, oh, we're going to stop people from dying with sheltering. The whole point of the shelter in place and all of that was to allow our medical system time to catch up. There was never a scenario where the coronavirus wasn't going to spread and millions of people were going to get it. What we were trying to do was flatten the curve so that our medical system could be ready. And our medical system is now ready. So to continue to remain closed because people are going to die. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but at least a few folks are going to die from this virus no matter what we do. So don't get mad at me for pointing out that you're moving the goalposts.
And just to be very clear, when I say that the left thinks that Gretchen, that the protesters are the bullies, that Gretchen is the poor, put upon, bullied little victim. That's not. I'm not speaking metaphorically, hyperbolically. No. There it is. I can't actually show you the article because, well, I will not patronize Washington Post on this. There you go. May 3rd. So this is from day before yesterday. Distinguished poll of the week. Gretchen Whitmer will not be bullied. Really? That's what you think.
I know this is
the
total...
the executive of the state who has decided against the wishes of the legislature who were putting through legislation to reopen the state of Michigan, when Gretchen Whitmer stepped forward and issued an executive order extending that lockdown and making it a very, very restrictive lockdown. She is taking the guns of the state. She is aiming the National Guard at her citizens and saying, stay home and let this economy crash. You will stay in your home and starve, or I will fucking spank you. But she's the put upon victim. And the starving people are the bullies? Okay. I keep seeing the memes on social media about all these selfish Republicans who just want to, they're willing to let you die because they want to get a haircut. No. If you make that statement, you are not mistaken. You are not expressing a belief which you hold in error. You are a goddamn liar.
Yeah, I know this is total ad hominem, but doesn't Governor Gretchen look like who you would cast if you wanted a female supervillain in your film?
Yeah, in that picture she really does.
Yep, just enough of that that snake-like appearance.
And let me bring the Back to the Future reference back around full boat. Hey! Gretchen Whitmer backs Joe Biden on alleged assault. Not every claim is equal.
Well,
you know what though? You know what though? She's right. She is 100% right. Not every claim is equal. For example, Tara Reid's claim is corroborated, has a police report that was filed in conjunction with it,
and has the mysteriously missing Larry King interview.
And happens to be a claim of actual assault. Okay? Give me just a moment to take Miss Pretty Pose. Miss.
Oh, are you saying that this is indelible in Tara Reid's hippocampus?
Okay. The allegations that were made against Kavanaugh by Ballsy Ford, she accused he and one other man of basically roughhousing her. She didn't say that they raped her. Now, let assume for a moment that the thing they did is the thing that they actually did, that it really happened. Would that have been a good thing? No. Was it a rape? No. She did not even allege that they touched her inappropriately, other than alleging that they trapped her in the room. And by all accounts, there is it is not just that nobody corroborated her story. It's that everybody she named as a potential witness or corroborator explicitly said it never happened, or at the closest she got to corroboration is, I won't say it didn't happen, but I don't remember it happening. She never filed a police report. There's no paper trail. There's nothing. But with this Tara Reid chick, there's a police report. There's a congressional complaint. There are multiple corroborating witnesses. There's the Larry King Live corroboration / evidence. And the allegation is an allegation of actual unwanted penetration.
Yeah, not
Joe
to mention,
Biden stuck his Joe Biden in her.
not to mention, there's just dozens and dozens of pictures of Joe Biden being just so handsy.
Yeah,
Like
that's a very good point.
And there's none of that with Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah,
None.
there's no evidence at all that Kavanaugh has ever been anything but polite and courteous and respectful with women. And honestly, I would even go so far as to say he may be a little too pro-woman. I found it very obnoxious with all his virtue signaling about how many women he's hired and all this stuff. I would have preferred the Barrett chick take that spot. But anyway, there's no pattern, there's no history of conduct for Kavanaugh. With Biden, there's such a history of conduct that if you don't suspect Biden of being a fully active pedophile, you're just not being honest with yourself.
Yeah, well, when you have Governor Gretchen here, I mean, just the staggering hypocrisy of this. This is kind of going sideways from what we originally talked about. But hey, let's roll with it.
Yeah, we're down the rabbit hole. We can talk about gun rights in a minute. Or tomorrow.
But the staggering hypocrisy of Governor Gretchen here. I mean, this proves that the whole thing about #MeToo, it was always about destroying Republicans. And you say, oh, well, it ended up wrapping up Harvey Weinstein and maybe a couple of others. Yeah, it did take down Al Franken, but Al Franken was dumb enough to take a picture of him grabbing a sleeping woman's breasts. Like, no, that's hard to argue with. See, there's the gray area here with Tara Reid. And as long as there is the gray area, they're going to say, well, hold on now. We can't jump to conclusions. You know, believe all women, but maybe not.
Yeah, believe all women unless it's inconvenient.
No, but the whole point of the #MeToo was to go after Republicans, was to further the narrative, because it's almost comical the way the left views the right, the racist, bigot, homophobe, misogynist, uneducated, missing a few teeth, cares more about their guns and their Bibles. And this isn't hyperbole. This is the general thought of the way the left thinks about the right, is what I'm trying to say. And so #MeToo fit right into it. It didn't matter that Christine Ford's story didn't make any sense, that included details such as she's wearing a one-piece bathing suit under her clothing. So even though they managed to get her pants off, they couldn't figure out what to do about that one little tiny strip of cloth underneath her pants. They're willing to take her pants off, but they can't figure out what to do with a bathing suit. Sure, that makes total sense. So forget that. And then contrast it with Tara Reid's story, which involves Joe Biden getting a little handsy, which is a thing we've seen Joe Biden do over and over and over again.
Like a lot.
Like a whole lot. So you weigh these things out, one of them is a more believable story than the other. And the less believable story is one of the most divisive things that's ever happened in modern history because it was so emotionally charged. We had the Senate hearings and now, oh no, there's a rapist on the Supreme Court and all of this. And there might be a demented rapist who could be president. That's cool. But a non-demented, probably not rapist being on the Supreme Court. Oh, we can't have that. That's a disqualifier. It's uh it's frustrating. Not surprising, but frustrating.
And you know, the funny thing is, they'd have been fine with Kavanaugh being a rapist as long as he was willing to kill babies for them. So let's talk about the Second Amendment for a minute. Um, uh, okay, Rod and Danielle both say that the audio is good, so
Thanks, people.
my video being a little bit choppy, I'll just have to figure that out. Maybe I missed an OBS update or something. We'll figure it out later. Um, oh, excuse me. Cameron, do me a favor. Go ahead and talk a little bit about what you were telling me about earlier with the rules on carrying in Michigan.
Oh, um, okay. So backing up, April 30th, there was a protest in Michigan uh, that involved going inside the state capitol and so forth. So Michigan has got kind of complex open carry laws. And the best way to sum it up is if an area is not designated to be a gun free zone, even though you're not told you can carry your gun there, it is implied that you can carry your gun there because a place has not been designated as a gun free zone. And this includes public areas like the state capitol. And this protest that happened a few days ago is actually not even the first time this has happened. When you go back to 2013, there was also a protest at Michigan State Capitol, and those protesters were also armed. And even then, it was acknowledged, technically they're not breaking the law. They're allowed to do this. You can carry a firearm in the state of Michigan as long as your intention is not to use it for an unlawful purpose, period. That's the way their law reads. Ironically, what you can't carry inside the state capitol are signs and flags. So the protesters couldn't bring their signs inside, but they could bring their guns inside. And somehow that makes the protesters the bullies. And I guess it all depends on the assumptions that you bring with you to the party. Going back to what I said earlier about, there's this almost comical perception of the left toward the right. If you believe that it's a bunch of dumb, angry people that are trying to bully the governor and they think their guns can defeat the coronavirus, well, heck yeah, this looks like a terrifying incident. It looks like a crazy right-wing militia stormed the Capitol. But if you don't assume that, if you assume instead these are free people that understand that there's about to be this whole global depression that we're right on the edge of, that this is not sustainable, and if their state stays closed, they're going to lose their homes, their jobs, their businesses, their everything. And they're just trying to make it very clear they're not going to passively sit by and let their entire way of life collapse. Well, now it doesn't look so scary anymore. Oh no, why did they bring the guns? The guns are kind of intimidating. Well, yeah, the guns are kind of intimidating. The governor signing an executive order saying that you have to stay home, even if it means you lose everything, that's also pretty darn intimidating. I've seen people comparing this to things like the protests at the Keystone Pipeline. Be like, well, those people weren't armed and they were treated terribly. Hey, here's a thought. Maybe they should be armed. And I'm not even saying I agree with the Keystone Pipeline protesters, not saying I disagree with them. But, here's a thought. Unarmed protesters are fodder. Armed protesters are not. They're not. Maybe one of the biggest myths that's been perpetrated on us in the modern era is this whole thing where we've just lionized Gandhi and we've lionized Martin Luther King Jr. about, oh, they're nonviolent protest. There is a difference between a nonviolent protest where you're unarmed and a nonviolent protest where you're armed.
The difference between a nonviolent man and a harmless man.
Right. So yeah, there is some intimidation factor there, but that's a feature of the system, not a bug. America is the only place in the entire world where the government does not have an absolute monopoly on force. Because that's really what it comes down to. Any government ever, you do what they say or they lock you up and kill you. Some countries are more extreme about it than others, but that's what it amounts to, is you do what the government says or they send whatever police after you, and if you don't comply, they will make you comply, dead or alive. The Second Amendment is intended to be a check on that. The founders understood that the day may come where the citizens of the country might need to show up at the state capitol and brandish their weapons and just remind everybody, hey, you don't tell us what to do. We tell you what to do. We have a social compact in this country that is different than any other country that's ever existed. And that is that the government works for us, not the other way around. And so, yeah. Rod says it's a bad flu. It's all overblown. Brother, you are preaching to the choir here.
I was talking to Rod on the phone last night for about 2.5 hours. We had some interesting conversations, and you and I are going to have to talk about this a little offline before we start doing a video about some of this stuff. But there is some shady shit going on, and I'm a little bit nervous about what it's going to mean. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's all I've got for this morning, because if I open up the next can of worms, we're gonna be here for another 20 or 30 minutes, and I know you've got to get going.
I do. Essential employee, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna go try to essential something in my employment today, but we will see y'all tomorrow. Be safe out there. Wash your damn hands.
I was getting worried about you yawning over there.
Well, I mean, I've been up since about 4, and I didn't go to bed till about midnight, so...
So it's nap time.
Yeah, it is.